The Diamond in the Dust, a mystery, featuring Elijah Quinn, London, 1907. The bustling streets of Hatton Garden, usually alive with the glitter of gemstones and the murmur of deals, felt strangely dull. The promise of sparkle was still in the air, but beneath it lay a new, cold glint of something far less beautiful. Elijah Quinn, his long coat blending into the morning fog, stepped carefully through the puddles. He wasn't there for a new timepiece or a valuable gem. He was there because even among the brightest diamonds, a dark secret had surfaced, leaving behind only dust and a quiet, final silence. The small, prestigious shop of Blackwood & Sons jewellers was cordoned off. Inside, Inspector Davies sighed, gesturing to the scene. The owner, Mr. Silas Blackwood, a man known for his meticulous nature, lay slumped over a work desk, a jeweller's loop still clutched in his lifeless hand. A small, velvet-lined tray before him held a scattering of uncut diamonds, but one prominent display stand was empty. "Just another day, Quinn," Davies grumbled, wiping his brow. "Burglary gone wrong, they think. The front door was jimmied, lock broken, and poor Blackwood dead. Doctor says it looks like a single, quick blow to the head from behind. Happened sometime during the night." Elijah's eyes didn't linger on the obvious. He surveyed the chaos of the shop. A glass display case was shattered, trays of rings overturned, but oddly, most of the valuable pieces still lay scattered. His gaze settled on the empty display stand. "What was taken, Inspector?" Elijah asked, pulling out his notebook. "The Star of London," Davies replied, sounding frustrated. "A magnificent, newly acquired raw diamond. Biggest one to come through Hatton Garden in years. Blackwood himself had just begun to examine it. It was supposed to be the centerpiece of his new collection." Elijah stepped closer to the desk, his eyes narrowing. Amidst the scattered diamonds on the velvet tray, he noticed a faint, almost invisible line of fine silvery powder. It wasn't dust from the street. He gently touched his finger to it, then looked at his palm. "Who discovered Mr. Blackwood?" Elijah asked, checking his pocket watch. 9:10 a.m. "His apprentice, young Thomas Fletcher, came in this morning at 8 a.m. Found the door ajar, the place a mess, and Blackwood. He raised the alarm immediately." Elijah found Thomas Fletcher, a nervous young man with wide, frightened eyes, sitting on a crate outside, being questioned by a constable. "It was horrible, sir," Thomas stammered, his voice trembling. "I came in, the door was open, and Mr. Blackwood, he was just there. Still, I didn't touch anything, I swear." "What time did you leave last night, Thomas?" Elijah asked softly, his gaze fixed on the apprentice's hands, which were tightly clasped, knuckles white. "About 9:30 p.m, sir. Mr. Blackwood was still here, working late on the Star of London. He said he wanted to spend the night figuring out the best cut. He always locked up himself, said he trusted no one with the big safe. Did anything seem unusual when you left?" Thomas hesitated. "Well, Mr. Blackwood was having a quiet chat with someone just before I left, in the back room. I only heard a bit, a whisper really, something like, 'The debt is settled now.' That's all. Then he told me to go home." Elijah's hand moved to his whisper notebook. "Debt is settled," hushed voice, before death. He also noticed a fresh, small cut on Thomas's thumb, almost hidden. "Did anyone else have a key to the shop?" "Only Mr. Blackwood and his business partner, Mr. Arthur Hemlock. But Mr. Hemlock's been in Paris for a week, on a buying trip." Elijah next visited Hemlock & Company Jewellers, a rival shop just down the street. He found Mr. Arthur Hemlock, Blackwood's supposed partner, surprisingly present despite Thomas's claim. Hemlock was a slick man, impeccably dressed with a condescending air. Blackwood dead? And the star gone? Hemlock chuckled, a dry, humourless sound. How convenient, though I suppose he finally paid his ultimate debt. Elijah's eyes narrowed. You're supposed to be in Paris, Mr. Hemlock. A sudden change of plans. Returned late last night. Got back to my flat around 11 p.m. Hemlock shrugged. I heard about the incident this morning. Pity. Silas was a fool, always overextending himself. He owed quite a bit to certain unsavoury characters. And to me, for that matter. What kind of debt? Elijah asked. Business dealings. He was always reckless. He had put up a significant portion of his share of the Star of London as collateral for a private loan. A very large loan. He was always on the verge of ruin. Just last week I told him, Silas, you're playing a dangerous game with your finances. You'll end up losing everything. Elijah noted the way Hemlock's voice sounded almost pleased when he spoke of Blackwood's financial woes. He clicked his pocket watch. 11:45 a.m. Elijah returned to Blackwood's shop, now less chaotic as the police had finished their initial sweep. He focused on the desk where Blackwood died. He carefully collected a sample of the fine, silvery powder. It felt gritty, almost like fine sand. He looked at the empty display stand. It seemed too neatly removed from its base, considering the rest of the shop was ransacked. He also noticed a faint, almost invisible scratch mark on the underside of the desk's edge, consistent with something sharp being dragged or used there. His gaze then fell upon a small, specialized diamond-cutting tool left on the desk, near Blackwood's hand. It was a fine, sharp scriber, used to mark the initial cut lines on a raw diamond. He noticed a faint smear of the silvery powder on its tip. Inspector Davies mentioned a blow to the head, Elijah murmured to himself. But there's no blunt instrument, and this powder... He carefully examined the victim's hair. Hidden within the strands, almost invisible, was a few more specks of the silvery dust, mixed with tiny, almost microscopic glass fragments. Blackwood hadn't just been hit. He'd been hit with something that shattered. Elijah visited Mr. Albert Glass, a local glass blower known for crafting specialized display cases for jewelers, including Blackwood. Glass was a grumpy, reclusive man, his hands calloused and stained. Blackwood's dead, and the star gone. What a mess, Glass grumbled, polishing a piece of intricate glass. He owed me money, that fool. Always late with his payments for the custom cases I made him. Mr. Glass, Elijah said, holding out a sample of the silvery powder and a tiny glass fragment he'd collected. Can you identify this powder? And the source of this glass? Glass put on his spectacles, examining the samples. The powder, looks like diamond dust, the kind created when you're polishing or cutting. Very fine grade. And the glass. He held it to the light. This is very specific, not regular window glass. This is from a reinforced display case, the kind I made for Blackwood's most valuable pieces. Only one like it was his main Star of London display. Elijah nodded. Did anyone else ever collect glass dust or fragments from your workshop? Glass scoffed. Only for repairs. No one would take my dust, it's worthless. But young Thomas, Blackwood's apprentice, was here last week. Said he was fetching a special polishing cloth. He lingered a bit, I remember. Asked a lot of questions about how I made the glass so strong. Elijah's mind pieced together the puzzle. Thomas, the cut on his thumb, the quiet whisper, the diamond dust, and now reinforced glass fragments. Elijah found Thomas Fletcher in a small back room of Blackwood's shop, attempting to clean up some broken glass. He still looked nervous. but his eyes were darting towards the back safe. "Thomas," Elijah said, his voice calm but firm. "The Star of London wasn't stolen by a common thief, and Mr. Blackwood wasn't killed by a simple blunt object." Thomas flinched, dropping a piece of glass. "What are you talking about, sir?" "The debt is settled now you overheard was not about money, was it? It was about Mr. Blackwood's promise to you, the promise that you, his apprentice, would be the one to prepare the Star of London for cutting, to have your name associated with it. But he changed his mind, didn't he? He decided to do it himself." Thomas's face crumpled. "He said I wasn't ready. After all my years, he said I wasn't good enough. He was going to take all the credit." "You found the Star of London already mounted on its display stand, didn't you?" Elijah continued, holding up the tiny glass fragments. "You learned from Mr. Glass how strong the reinforced glass was. You knew it couldn't be easily shattered, and you knew Mr. Blackwood's exact routine. You entered the shop sometime after 9:30 p.m, after Blackwood sent you home. You disabled the front lock to make it look like a break-in. You then confronted Mr. Blackwood, perhaps trying to convince him to let you prepare the diamond. He refused. In your anger, you struck him, not with a blunt object, but with the Star of London itself, still on its display stand." Elijah's voice was quiet, but unwavering. The blow to his head caused the diamond's display case to shatter upon impact, leaving these tiny, reinforced glass fragments and the fine diamond dust in his hair and on the desk. That's why there was no blunt instrument found, and why the diamond dust was scattered. You then took the diamond, not because you wanted to steal it for money, but because you wanted its credit, to hide the murder. "The cut on your thumb, Thomas," Elijah concluded, pointing to the small wound, "is from the shattered display case, isn't it? And the faint, silvery powder on the desk? It's diamond dust left from the force of the blow. You then tried to clean it up, but some always remains." Thomas stared at his thumb, then at the scattered dust on the desk. He slumped against the wall, tears welling in his eyes. "I just wanted to be recognized. He said I'd get my chance." He had craved the sparkle of success, but only found the dust of his undoing. Outside, the chime of a distant clock marked the afternoon. Young Thomas Fletcher confessed, overwhelmed by his ambition and the weight of his secret. The Star of London, a diamond meant for brilliance, was found hidden in his simple lodgings, carefully wrapped in a velvet cloth. "Sometimes," Elijah wrote in his notebook, "the most precious things are not stolen for their worth, but for the recognition they bestow. And ambition, like a diamond cutter's tool, can be precise, but also terribly sharp." He folded his coat, returned the notebook to his pocket, and stepped back into the gaslit streets, the quiet hum of London carrying him toward the next untold story.